All right, the big winners in the NBA as we look at winners and losers of the NBA offseason, now that things have kind of quieted down a little bit. The New York Knicks, I think, have to be number one, right? To go out and get Mikal Bridges, lock in a starting five that feels like a championship contender, and give this team some real hope. And then Brunson signs the team friendliest extension maybe in the history of sports when you consider what he actually could have got. This is one of the winning off seasons a team has ever had, aside from bringing in like the big three in Miami or something along those sides. This is incredible. Oklahoma City did a hell of a job this offseason. They are also a winner here as they go out, they trade away a player off of their roster who wasn't going to be in their rotation next year for a guy who could win Defensive Player of the Year in his sleep, at least make all defense teams in the NBA, and just fits exactly what they needed. And then they address their biggest need in free agency with the best guy out there in Hartenstein. This is a team that was on the cusp of being championship ready anyway, and now they have worked their way even higher up into that conversation with an amazing offseason. The Philadelphia 76ers, they had some of the most cap space, so they should, but they did really well. Acquiring Paul George, where if everything works out, this is a championship caliber team. And then to add Martin on top of that, I think is just a real nice cherry on top for what the 76ers were doing. I have the Golden State Warriors on here. I know that Clay left, and it has led to a lot of bigger discussions about where they're going. But to bring in Melton and Heald and Slow-Mo out of all of that, I think it's actually a pretty good recovery. And if they are able to get in on the market and sweepstakes, which I think they should, this could all of a sudden be not a championship caliber team, but this could be a team that, again, makes some noise and gets ready for the postseason out in the NBA. And lastly, I have the San Antonio Spurs. I think that you bring in Chris Paul to play with Victor Wembanyama. Perfect. Puts the face of your franchise in the best place to succeed and brings in a guy who he has not been to the mountaintop, but he has been very close and he knows what it takes to at least get close, to bring in that leadership. And then to add Harrison Barnes as just a throw-in in some kind of a trade, he is going to be productive for them. And they've also made some really smart moves to set themselves up for the future. This has been a brilliant offseason for the San Antonio Spurs. To the losers now. And you probably, if you heard my team-by-team breakdown of the offseason so far, you probably know where I'm going. It's the LA Clippers. This has been horrendous. The fact that they double down on Kawhi, but then don't fully go all the way with this team and lose Paul George, and now it is Kawhi for 60 to 65 games at best, and then James Harden's just running the show in those other ones. This is a failure for this organization, and I think a real misstep for the LA Clippers. If you're going to sign Kawhi, you have to sign PG and just keep this band together and keep trucking, because now you're not a championship contender. You're barely a playoff contender, but you're not a tanking team, and you can't be because you don't own any of your picks until 29. So this didn't make any sense to me at all. The Miami Heat, they lose Caleb Martin, and they haven't really added a whole lot. And when you look at how that Eastern Conference championship team was built a couple of years ago, they have lost so many of the important pieces on the way out the door for nothing. And now, you have Jimmy Butler's contract. You don't know what's going on with that. Bam Adebayo is getting paid, but Tyler Hero, maybe you're seeing he doesn't have the value that a lot of people thought he might, and it's becoming a real issue out in Miami. In Chicago, I thought they got, again, fleeced in the Caruso-Giddey trade. DeRozan walks out the door. They can't hand Levine off to anyone. They're in a really, really bad spot, and they are running out of ways to get themselves out of it, and that continued here this offseason. The Denver Nuggets, it's not a huge blow, but losing KCP is, again, like we talked about on the hockey side, he is a heart and soul kind of a player. And now you are asking a couple of young players to step up, and there's a very real chance they might. And there's a very real chance it doesn't matter because Jokic is that good and Murray is that good. And when he is on, MPJ and Aaron Gordon can be that good as well. But KCP, for the identity they had on defense, and he was good enough offensively, he just fit there so well. And so to lose him I think makes them take a step back when we've already talked about some West teams taking steps forward. And the last one, the Milwaukee Bucks, just because, again, it feels like the situation they are in, they are stuck. Boston has already clearly passed them. The Knicks have clearly passed them. The 76ers have clearly passed them. And Cleveland, if they can get their poop in a group, have also, I think, passed the Milwaukee Bucks. And when you have all those teams passing you and you have one of the best players in the world, I would say it's an organizational failure. Yeah.